Hey guys, what is happening? New pictures of the crater. The Blue Lagoon is closed again after it just opened. And some news from the buyout of the properties of the residents of Grindavik, and this time you'll really hear about it. I forgot it in my last video, so I'll touch it for sure in this video. So my friend, the Blue Lagoon, after they opened up again on April 6th, they're closed again. And we've been discussing this in my last video, looking at their website, and some people said, well, there is a little bit of tiny thing popping up that they're closed on the mobile version if you're on your mobile phone. But if you're, for example, on your laptop or on your computer, nothing's popping up, you can click book now, nothing's still popping up. You can choose how many children, how many people, nothing is still popping up. So they're really trying to put this under the rug a little bit, hoping that the time that they need to be closed passes, and then, you know, nobody knows about that there might be a big risk. They're really trying to hide it. There should be like a huge banner. You can come, but if you're elderly, have respiratory problems, heart problems, young children, etc., please read this. There's an eruption going on, something like this. But of course, nothing. And that's why I will keep criticizing them, because I don't think this is correct, and I don't think this is right. So they are closed. And of course, due to gas pollution from the volcanic eruption in the Sutnuka crater series that has been going on since March 16th, and the Blue Lagoon is in the hazard area that is laid out in the hazard map of the Icelandic Meteorological Office. The civil defense and the police say, well, ideally stay out of these areas. If you are in these areas, you're at your own risk and you are responsible for your own actions and inactions. So that's like disclaimer, right? Blue Lagoon doesn't say anything. They're quiet about everything, basically. So they're saying the Blue Lagoon, yeah, the lava flow does not threaten the Blue Lagoon right now, or the infrastructure or the facilities. Yes, that is true. But, you know, toxic air is worse at the moment. And of course, they're saying the main factors affecting the operation of the Blue Lagoon now are the effects of the volcanic eruption on air quality. And yeah, that's definitely true. They say they have increased the number of gas meters at the Blue Lagoon area and in and around the Blue Lagoon, also like a weather observatory there. But if the wind changes, it changes quickly. And the Icelandic MET Office has warned that from the heat that's coming from the eruption and the lava bed, this can influence wind and can change wind without any notice. So that's the danger. And then it's there right away. The Blue Lagoon is roughly like 4 kilometers away from that eruption. So that travels fast. And that's why I think they should remain closed. But of course, they won't. Money rules the world. That's how it is. There's a new 3D model of this eruption area, and I'd urge you to go to the website. I'll put the link here. It's really interesting. You can scroll around and see where the eruption is, and there you also see a little bit of the topography, how the lava flow has affected and changed that. It seems that the eruption has reduced the performance. The activity in the eruption seems to be much less than at the same time yesterday. So that's what a natural disaster expert at the Icelandic Meteorological Office is saying when they looked at it this morning. But, you know, at the same time, they say it has to be seen whether the activity overall has decreased, because the land under Swartsengi started rising again. So maybe less is flowing out, but instead the same stuff is accumulating under Swartsengi again. So the lava from the eruption right now is still flowing south, but it does not go far because it's still building up on top of each other. The land rise, as I just mentioned, it is still active, but at the moment, little seismic activity at the magma tunnel that is under Swartsengi, and that's going down until Grindavik. So that seems to be quiet. Then the civil defense and the police, they have made a statement about this eruption, and they're basically saying that this eruption is different than the other eruptions that have occurred on the Reykjanes Peninsula since 2021. And why is this eruption different? The other eruptions have been far away from settlements and they have caused less danger to people. These eruptions that are happening right now since November 10, they're so close to Grindavik, they're so close to Swartsengi, the Blue Lagoon. So this eruption already had greater consequences, which meant that tourism companies have not been so eager to make this eruption some kind of tourist event. That's what the executive director of the Tourism Association has said about the access for tourists to the eruption site on the Reykjanes Peninsula. But we know that yesterday between 9 to 11 people were sneaking out of the parking lot of the Blue Lagoon and they were hiking to the eruption, which is kind of crazy because of the gas. But if the rim breaks again and this waterfall of lava flows towards them, they have no chance. So of course, there are discussions whether to allow foreigners to access this eruption site and make this a tourist eruption. But, you know, they also said, well, should they use a fraction of the funds that they're using to build the defense walls for Grindavik to install parking lots and to build roads to the eruption site? I mean, like, really? I mean, no, I don't know how you think, but you know, protection dikes are more important right now. I think that would be a slap in the face of the people that are affected by that lava flow and whose properties and infrastructure is threatened by the lava flow. To prepare parking spaces and allow people to walk up to one of the hills in the vicinity of the eruption. That's basically what they're saying. But it seems that this the executive director of the Tourism Association is kind of worried how that might look. So he says it's obvious that it's not appropriate to sell access to disasters that destroy and threaten people's homes. At least they're getting that now. And he says it can also be mentioned that access to this eruption has been slightly different. So the access has been blocked due to these roadblocks that are installed so that only residents and business owners, contractors and press can access Grindavik. But of course, you can drive into the Blue Lagoon, and if you sneak out there, you could hike. So he says, you know, and that's what he thinks, but I disagree with him. He says those that are thirsty to go to these eruptions, they've already been here and they walked to the other eruptions. So basically their desire has already been served, and so there's less need to run after this one. I'm not so sure. I really don't think so, especially not after what happened yesterday with these guys going there. And he also says that the tourism company's interest in driving people to the eruption is now more limited than before, because he says now the eruption both attracts tourists and also scares them away. Well, it should scare them away. It is dangerous. And he says now, here we're talking about that coverage from abroad, from other media companies where they have complained in the past that it's so unfair and that they make it sound more dangerous and that they're losing revenue. But actually their bookings for Iceland overall are up. That's what they just said recently. So it seems they haven't been affected negatively. So he says that this eruption has received considerable coverage abroad, and which can be both good and bad. That's what he's saying. Well, he says we have also seen different short-term and long-term effects. These so-called tourist eruptions were very convenient for people, small and easy to get there and to explore. But he says the coverage of the eruptions has been quite positive, which helped when the tourism industry recovered from the pandemic. So, okay, so it wasn't that bad, like they always keep saying, but now it comes, he says, right? The coverage of the eruptions in the vicinity of Grindavik has been very difficult, and various rumors have started about disruption of air traffic and more. So I haven't seen any foreign news outlets writing that these eruptions affect air traffic, because obviously the Keflavik airport has been open all the time. I haven't seen it. Have you seen it, guys? I don't know. And so he says that some foreign tourists who are not familiar with Iceland have believed that, and the current coverage has therefore had more negative effect than the other. I disagree. I don't think it was that negative. Maybe it was the truth. A worker fell into the crack and died. Grindavik had to be evacuated multiple times. The Blue Lagoon had to be evacuated multiple times. One worker at the Blue Lagoon had to be hospitalized due to severe respiratory illness from sulfur gas, toxic gases. The lava has been flowing in the first few days really, really fast, has flown over roads, has flown over infrastructure. Homes there have been without heat and electricity in parts for about up to 5 days. So something is definitely going on. 3 homes have been burned down to the ground by lava. Cracks, sinkholes. It's not safe, right? So of course this is being covered differently than the Fagradalsfjall eruptions that have been in the middle of nowhere and have basically done anything similar to what has happened here. So the police chief says, we're just wondering what can be done because, regarding the access to the eruption, he says, it's not a problem in itself, but he says after the opening of the Blue Lagoon, now the distance for the people that want to see it, the distance to the crater is relatively short. And he says, it's not a big problem to access this eruption. And he says the task of the police is not to guide tourists to and from the eruption, and the emergency services, they're not up to that task as of today, and neither the police nor the rescue teams, it's not their job. And their task is to rescue people and to maintain surveillance, but they're not babysitting tourists. That's not their job, and that's why they don't want this to happen, because nobody's there who can basically look what's happened and get people out in time. So that's basically the problem. They're busy with other stuff. They don't want to be like the babysitters of these tourists. He says these are not our traditional task. And he says, the traffic to the eruption interferes with their tasks. And he says, of course, I have police officers tied up in this project. And of course, this is a project that we really can say is not considered one of the traditional tasks of our police officers in general, to be on guard doing a volcanic eruption. That's not the job of the police. That's what Olfa Ludvigsen says, the police chief of Sudorns. But he says, of course, our office did get assistance of other police officers and good support of the National Police Commissioner, and also they're getting the help of the police of the capital area and of the police in the south, the officers that are closest to them. But still it's a problem, and that's why they don't want this to be open to the public, aside from the risk of the toxic sulfur gases. And that's why the Blue Lagoon is closed again currently, right? So finally, what is going on with the home purchases of the residents of Grindavik for the people that want to get rid of their homes and be free and have the funds available to buy a safe home somewhere else? The real estate company that has been founded for that purpose only will start buying residential properties in Grindavik this week. That's what they have announced today. And so far now they have received 644 applications. So more applications have come in the last few days. And they're saying that their goal is to complete the processing of all these applications that have been received with purchase agreement also this month. But they're saying it's still not possible to schedule the purchase of individual properties. So that's a press release they made today. So are there any news in there compared to what they said last week? Not much. It's still bureaucratic blah blah that could go in each direction, in my opinion. They're also stating again that some of the applications will require a special examination, and therefore their processing will take longer. Yeah, so this is probably for the properties that were still under construction. How do you assess the value there? And overall, for people maybe that are not sure right now whether they want to sell their property or not, they will be able to apply for a buyout the whole year. Of course, they're saying this scenario right now is different from traditional real estate business. Well, of course it is, right? We all know that. We don't need to discuss this any further. They're saying, well, this project as a whole, that's what they're saying, is different, and it has called for the conclusion of an agreement on the waiver of the borrower's self-responsibility with 18 lenders, which is a prerequisite for the purchase of the properties through that company that has been founded for this. So they say the purchase will take place through a digital process, including the signing and the notarization of these purchase agreement. They're saying overall, it is an investment of tens of billions of Icelandic krona that this real estate company has to handle on behalf of the government. And they are saying this large scale has called for considerable preparation and development of work processes for finalizing purchase offers, registration, and payments to sellers. Yes, I believe this, but they've had like many months now. This really, I hope they really come to terms this month. And then here there's the usual thing. Their emphasis is on getting the project done quickly and reducing the uncertainty. You keep saying that, guys. Well, why don't you just do it? Well, start doing it. I hope they will really start now, because they're saying we emphasize working on this quickly to reduce the uncertainty for those who own real estate in the town and need to find another future home. Many of them already have found their future home and are in limbo right now because they only had a 3-month closing time, and that has expired now, and there's still no money from the natural disaster insurance or from that real estate company that has been founded for that reason. Then they further say, we also emphasize cooperation on possible rent and, depending on the circumstances, use or access to the premises after the purchase goes through. We want to handle all cases as quickly as possible. It will respond to all the many inquiries and emails we have received. That's what the manager of that company is saying. And I know that a lot of residents are not happy with the communication, and they haven't received an answer or confirmation of their application, although even the people that were the first to sign up for this buyout process. So overall, I really hope this comes to a conclusion and that things will happen fast now. So I'll keep you updated about that. There's going to be another video about Campi Flegrei in Italy, because something is still going on and keeps going on, and I think this is worth noting, so stay tuned for this. It's going to happen in a few hours. In the meantime, I'll send this one out. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for watching. Please leave this video a like, and if you're new here, it would be awesome to gain you as a subscriber so that we can see each other more often here on my channel. And of course, as always, you guys, your support on my buymeacoffee.com website, I'm so grateful for that, and of course for the supers you keep sending me here and for the conversations we're having in the comments. So thanks for that, guys. Stay safe. I hope to see you soon. Bye bye.